The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Marcus, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today's guest hails from the great state of Maine and began her in-ring career in 2020. She was trained by Alexander Lee, Calvin Strange, and MSP, and has worked for such promotions as Limitless, Northeast Championship Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Magic, Lucky Pro Wrestling, and I could go on. Shared the ring with likes of Del Miexo, Little Mean Kathleen, Blade Bandit, Ava Everett, the girl who played opposite Scarlett Johansson in the movie Black Widow, Big Juicy, The Danger Kid, and I could go on. So let's welcome today's guest, someone who's never been murdered in a feature film. I give you the Spitfire, Jessie Nolan. Hey, Jessie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for coming on this evening. I really appreciate it. I will try and make it as painless as possible. So obviously, maybe it was like a month ago. I didn't know what a Spitfire was, right? So I went online and I looked up what a Spitfire was. And then as I read on, someone's like, is it a compliment? And the person who responded was like, basically said, yeah, mostly. Now, this isn't a person that you'd feel comfortable having around, but there's something admirable about them that you like, which made me wonder, you don't have a fierce temper in your day-to-day life. This is just in the ring. I just wanted to make sure. And this wasn't something that's followed you your whole life.
No.
Okay.
I'm usually a pretty calm person in real life for the most part.
Okay, and that makes me feel comfortable for the rest of this interview. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And my first question is your hair. And okay, I have no experience with dyeing hair or cutting hair, anything. So how do you get it that red? Because I've seen pictures online where it's like really red. Does that take a long time and does it hurt?
So this is natural.
Okay.
I actually just recently started dyeing my hair, like the tips.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe a few months ago.
Okay.
I started with just like orange tips, and then I kind of brought it up my hair more, and then I decided to cut my hair. But I don't know. It's a very painless experience. It's very easy. I usually have my friend Megan do it, and she does a really great job. And it's been fun, like being able to change up the colors and, kind of tune it towards my wrestling gear and my wrestling persona. So I probably won't color it forever, but I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, you've been doing great in it, so I must keep it up. So do you have to see, what I imagined was you or a woman with long hair, dipping the ends of their hair in bleach and then dipping their hair in red. It doesn't work like that, right? There's no dipping of your head into any receptacle filled with dye.
Right. Yeah. It's all painted on. The only, the worst part I'd say is washing it, because you do have to wash it in freezing cold water. So I do have to get in the shower and turn my head up.
Oh God.
get the cold water because otherwise the dye will come out fast.
Have you ruined many towels?
Um, no, actually, surprisingly not. My my boyfriend, actually, who's in the video that you just played the clips of,
Uh-huh.
Blade Bandit, he has this wrestling towel. He's had it for years and years and years, and I actually used it to like for some reason, and it got hair dye all over it. So, I used it when I was dyeing my hair one time.
Oh,
And so
geez.
I ruined that towel, but he's like, yeah, I'm still going to use it. It's fine.
Oh, okay. That's fine. It's not one of these things. It's not like a breakup offense. You know what I mean? Not like he's going to break up with you. That's what I always say. It's like, all right, she could divorce me? No. Like,
No.
we'll get through this. Your face paint, which thinking of ruining towels. Do you do that yourself?
I do. Yes.
And how long does it take? Because it's intricate and like, shaped well.
It takes a while. I normally get ready, like I start getting ready like way before everyone else usually.
Okay.
At least with like my makeup because um I don't know. I like to be able to like stand out as far as
Mm-hmm.
my makeup goes, and Blade actually kind of got me onto the face paint because he wore it for a while, a
Mm-hmm.
long time, and we started teaming together. And so I started doing the matching face paint with him, and then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of ventured on into my own thing. And so I went with like the flame look with like the gray,
Yeah.
and I've been really loving it.
Did you have like a background in like art?
No, not really. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
yeah, I'm not like super artistic. I've always been pretty good with makeup ever since I was probably in college.
Oh, cool. Have you ever made money off of that?
I've done like makeup for a couple weddings. I did
Oh, cool.
some proms, so just like little things like that. But I don't have my license or anything for that,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not something that I do on a regular basis.
Okay, you get to a venue, or maybe do this at home. How long from sitting down or standing up does it take for you to paint everything like perfectly?
Um, oh man, that's a tough question.
Or if you don't want to give out this information, I understand that too.
Oh no, I don't mind. I'd say uh, I I want to say like 30 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. I was
Yeah.
thinking hours,
Well, no,
but that
no.
would be if I was doing it.
I did like for Halloween I did the Ultimate Warrior face paint, and that took even longer because I was trying to
Oh,
like look at the picture and then look back and try to
yeah,
make it all
yeah.
perfect. So that probably took like an hour, but typically
Oh.
I've been getting really good at getting it down to
Mm-hmm.
a science, and it doesn't take me as long lately.
Do you ever go in public with it, like to the grocery store or to dinner?
Um, Not to the grocery store or dinner,
Uh,
but there have been a couple times where I was just too tired after a show to
uh,
wash my face paint off. So I'm just like, oh, I'll just do it on the way home. And then
uh-huh.
I end up stopping at a gas station, like getting a snack, and then I go in with full face paint, and I just go in like, hello. I went
Yeah.
to Domino's one time with full face paint, and one of the workers was like, oh my gosh, you just made my whole night. And so,
Oh, that's
yeah, I've done
hilarious.
it a couple times.
Have you ever accidentally not taken it off and like not realized that it was still on?
Um, I don't think so. I think that there's been times where I didn't realize it until I was about to like go into a gas station or something like that, but
Mhm.
I do realize it in the moment.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Now let's get ready for a round of more stupidity on my part, um, which you'll know in a few minutes. But where in Maine did you grow up?
I grew up in central Maine,
Okay,
so it's pretty close to the border of New Hampshire.
okay,
Now I live a little bit more north. I
hmm,
live right near the capital of Maine, which is Augusta. Um,
okay.
I actually work in Augusta in my daily life.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Do they
yeah,
know you're a wrestler where you work in your
Um,
daily life?
most of the people at my work do.
Hmm.
I don't typically tell my clients. Um,
Sure, sure.
yeah, but most of my coworkers do.
Okay. And say you wanted to go to the ocean, how long a drive is that? from where you grew up and then from where you are now?
Probably both. It would be about an hour.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, it's
Is
very easy to get to.
Did you go to like the beach often, like as a kid?
I didn't go like super often as a kid, but I've gone a lot more in the past few years actually. I don't know, I've really grown to like it, so I've been going as often as I can during the summer.
Okay, here's a series of very stupid Midwestern questions, okay?
Uh-huh.
Um, how far from where you live or where you grew up was like where you could get away and like where you might see the wilderness, you know?
Um, Not very far.
Okay.
Like my house right now, I'm actually in the middle of the woods.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Maine is a lot of forest.
Hmm. So do you ever get the say the first night you lived in where you're currently living, were you nervous? So dark.
Um, Not really, but there's been quite a few times where I'll hear like animals outside. Like one
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
like I get deer in my backyard all the time.
Oh,
But one night I was actually laying in bed and I thought I heard like a woman screaming and I was like, oh my gosh. And it actually turned out to be a fox.
oh my
It's
God.
terrifying. It was super loud and it sounded like a woman like getting murdered or
Oh
something.
my God.
Yeah, so I
Jeez.
was pretty freaked out about that. Um I figured out it was a fox, but that was not a fun night for me.
Did you growing up and now ever see moose or bears?
I've seen bears before.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever actually seen a moose, but they're very common around here. A lot of people that I know have seen them.
Okay. And then this is my last stupid question, I think. Does McDonald's sell lobster rolls or any lobster products?
Um, I feel like they do, but it's like a seasonal thing.
Okay, okay. Would there be any circumstance where you would get one of those from
I
McDonald's?
am not particularly a fan of lobster, but if
Okay.
I was, I don't think I would get one from McDonald's.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, what was the place you grew up? Was it a small town, a big town?
Yep. So I grew up in a very small town. My my graduating class in high school was about 200 students.
Oh my God. Did you guys
Yeah,
have a movie theater in town?
we do. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
That's how I gauge like if it's, big and people feed into it. Um, oh my gosh, only 200 in your graduating class?
Yes. There's usually, I mean, I've lived in quite a few towns
Mhm.
in Maine, and their population's usually between 2 and 3,000 people.
Oh wow. And there's just lots of these communities or towns
Yes.
like
Yep.
that. Did you have siblings?
Yep. I have two younger sisters.
What's the age gap?
We're all 16 months apart. So I'm 27. My sister is 26, I think, and my other one is 24.
Oh, so your mom was smart about it.
Yeah, they have.
Just
My
get
parents,
it done, and that's
yeah,
great. I would have stopped after two, but not because of you. I should have stopped at zero. But anyways, um, can I ask what your parents did for a living?
yeah. So my dad has been at the same job for I think my whole life. He actually builds. He works with laminates, so like bowling alley floors, countertops,
Oh
stuff like
wow.
that. Yeah, so he works in a factory that does that. He's done that forever. My mom has worked quite a few different jobs throughout my life, but probably her longest one, she was actually a florist,
Oh cool.
which was really cool. She made some really beautiful floral arrangements, and she actually did. I got married a few years ago. I'm not married anymore, but she
Mhm.
actually did the flowers for my wedding.
Oh, awesome. In
Yeah.
on many levels,
Yes.
money being one. Oh, that's cool. Could she bring back, like, say, the flowers that haven't sold in a day, that maybe aren't fresh that day?
Yeah. She would do that sometimes, and I think that her working there definitely made me have a love of flowers. I personally am not like good with gardening and like flowers
Mhm.
and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
she actually just moved in with into my house a few months ago. So I'm like in the spring I'm gonna let her like do all the gardening and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
Take care
Does
of all
she know this?
what?
Have you guys had this conversation about what's going
Um,
to happen in the spring yet?
I mean, I let her have full reign. I told her that.
Mhm.
I mean, as long as she makes my yard look pretty, that's all that
Got it. Got
matters.
it. So saying full rain kind of is a little nudge to make improvements where you want, especially outside, specifically outside.
Yes.
So when you were
Yes.
where you grew up, were the homes like spread out?
Um, it kind of depended on where you live.
Okay.
I lived mostly the houses that I lived in were on a street with like quite a few homes, but they weren't super close together.
Okay.
Um, like my house now, I have neighbors all around me, but there's quite a bit of woods in between the houses.
Oh, well, that's kind of nice actually.
Yeah,
Did you what kind of things were you interested in as a kid?
I actually was very a huge fan of wrestling when I was a kid.
What
Um,
age did it come into your life?
I've watched it ever since I was like very young, like probably like 2 or 3. My dad would have it on the TV, and I just kind of grew up watching it. So my parents are actually divorced, and
Okay.
so I would go see my dad every other weekend, and he would have Friday Night SmackDown on. And so I just, over the years, I ended up just really loving it. And in about 2006, 2007, I ended up starting to watch it and like get very interested in it on
Well,
my own. And that it kind of took off from there. I was just very obsessed with it.
were you and are you close with your father?
I am, yeah. And I definitely credit him with, being where I am today in wrestling. He definitely helped my love of wrestling. Like he created it and he
Yeah,
helped it
yeah.
grow, and I wouldn't have it without him.
That's amazing, and you're really lucky that the memories you have with your dad revolve a lot around wrestling.
Yes.
Something that you're okay. Which brings me to the other side of the coin. Was your mother a fan of wrestling because your dad was?
Yes, my mom definitely is a fan of wrestling. She wouldn't. Sorry, my dog keeps sneezing.
That's fine.
Um, So she did not watch it as much as he did. I think
Mhm.
she watched it like a lot more when she was growing up and my age. So yeah, they both were into wrestling. My dad just happened to have it on the TV more than she would.
Yeah, yeah. So are they do they verbalize how proud they are of you
They
that
do.
you've done this?
Yeah, they actually come to a lot of my shows to
Oh,
watch
that's
me. So I'm super happy that they're able to see that because you know those two, like, out of all the fans there, like, those 2 are the most important to me to be there, and,
do
you
they
know
react?
yes, they do, they're so cute, they, like, scream, and they yell, and they cheer, and,
Do you ever
so
make
I
eye
really
contact with them, like, during the match?
not usually, I
Okay.
try to, like, kinda keep my distance from them just 'cause, I like to I mean, everyone pretty much knows they're my parents anyway, but I also
But
like to separate my personal life.
sure, sure,
There has
absolutely.
been, some times where I'll, like, pat them on the shoulder as I go by, and,
Mhm.
there was a show, like, last month where I gave them both a hug because they were both there. So, yeah, I try to do little things like that for them.
Are there step-parents in the picture?
Nope, they both are
Oh,
not dating anyone or seeing
so
anyone.
but are they still, like, get along?
Yep, yeah, we
Oh,
still
that's
do, like,
great.
family dinners and stuff like that with them, both of them. They're very good about being around each other, which I'm
That's
super lucky
awesome.
about.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big deal because then you
Yeah,
still have, like, the holiday memories, they're still there and everything. Um,
yeah.
so what would you how would someone describe your personality as a kid?
I was very shy as a kid. I was very soft spoken. I didn't really talk a lot. I was more of a listener.
Uh,
Um, yeah,
did
I'm.
At
I,
the time, did you, like, just wish you would be, you would speak up more, or you couldn't, like, when you were a kid, that's tough.
Yeah, I think that, when I was younger, I don't think I cared as much.
Hmm.
But as I got older, it was definitely something that I resented myself about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where my wrestling persona came to be because, growing up, I was always this very like shy person that had,
Hmm.
that personality inside her, but I was just too afraid to show it. And now that I have a platform where, I can be whoever I want to be, that's I'm the Jessie that I always wanted to be now. I can, be the Spitfire. Like I can be aggressive and I can be bold and I can, beat people up. You know what I mean?
Had you had you had any like experience with like being in a play or playing someone who's not you, like prior to your wrestling career?
Um, no, not really. I never was into like the acting or anything like that. I the only thing I did was sports and that's more on the athletic side.
So was it kind of like a relief that, or is it a relief that you have this character that you have two parts of yourself that you can act a certain way? That's awesome. So you said you did sports growing up.
Yes.
What did you play?
I played baseball when I was younger. Then as I got older, I was forced to play softball, so I played that. I
What do you
played
mean
basketball.
forced?
So the when I got made it to junior high, the baseball team was only for guys and the softball team was only for girls.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to play baseball, but they wouldn't let me. So I played softball instead,
Uh-huh.
which was fine because, like, it's essentially the same thing. But
Yeah.
I grew up playing baseball. Like
Did
that
you
was,
ever did you play little league like prior to junior high?
yeah. I mean, I played like wherever and whenever I could.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah. So I transitioned to softball, and I made the most of it. And I played basketball and soccer. I did a year of field hockey. So I try to do a lot of sports.
Yeah, it sounds like like for all seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so what kind of student were you?
Um, I was actually a straight A student for quite a while.
Okay.
Once I made it into high school, things got a little bit harder, and I was still a good student. I was still on the
Hmm.
honor roll, stuff like that. But I ended up not doing sports so I could
Hmm.
focus more on my academics because that was more important to me at the time,
Okay.
because I wanted to get into a good school. And I also was in the band, so I played
Uh-huh.
the flute and the saxophone. So I got very passionate about that, and I ended up spending a lot more time with that than as opposed to like doing sports.
Did anyone at home, like your parents, did they want you to? Were they good about like do whatever makes you happy, or did
Yeah,
that was
they
there
were.
any influence you in one way or the other?
Nope, they were very supportive of whatever I wanted to do and whatever, sport or instrument or anything like that I wanted to do.
Do you still play like the flute?
I still I have a flute still. I try to play it, but my dogs hate it. They
Really?
bark like crazy every time I try. So I don't know. I don't know if it's something that I just need to keep trying and they'll get used to it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's kind of swayed me from playing it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to like go down into my basement sometime or
Yeah,
take it
seriously.
out.
Okay, so you had a plan, it looks like, for post high school. What
Yes,
and were you and you're like your parents are like do what you want to do. So what happens after graduation from high school? Did you go on to college?
I did. Yes, I did 4 years of an undergraduate. I
Mm.
actually went to school in Utah, and I studied linguistics.
Okay, what
Um,
school?
I went to Brigham Young
Oh
University.
wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I did 4 years there, and I was very homesick the whole time.
I bet.
But I made myself, I got through it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually made some good friends, and my best friend still lives out there. We met in college,
Oh,
um,
cool.
and I ended up coming home. I came back to Maine, and I didn't end up using my degree. So
Okay.
I went back to school a couple years later and got a business degree.
In Maine.
Yes, yeah,
Um, okay, so BYU's in Provo, is that it?
yes,
Okay. Was that your number one school, or how did you, or like, did you want to get away, far
Um,
away?
yeah, no, that was my number one school.
Mhm.
But I was not super excited to go out to Utah. Um, but
Are
kind of,
you a Mormon?
I was at the
Okay.
I'm no longer practicing that, but that was the reason why it was my top school.
Yeah, yeah.
The tuition was really cheap for being a member of the church, which was great. And
Oh.
I had some friends who lived out there, from my church, and
Mhm,
they were really helpful to me. So, all in all, it was good, and I'm glad I
mhm,
went out there, and I'm glad I got out and like experienced different things.
mhm.
I definitely learned that I do not want to live out there ever, but it was a good experience overall.
Did your sisters go to BYU as well?
They both did actually. They actually went to BYU, Idaho. So
Oh.
that's right up about 3 hours north in Rexburg.
Oh, wow. So why did they pick that location? Or what does that
I don't.
location have?
It's a little bit of a smaller school and it's easier to get into.
Mhm.
Um, so I think they both just ended up getting in there and just decided to go there.
What's going on? Was that your dog?
Yes, he
Was
just
it
woke up and shaking and
yeah. Was that
laying down.
his ears going?
Yes.
Okay, I knew it was that's what it was.
Yep.
Um, okay, so at some point you make a decision. So you graduate, you go back, you get your business degree. Where's wrestling at? Is wrestling on your mind at this point?
So all through high school, I really, really wanted to be a wrestler. Like really, really wanted to, but I didn't know how to start. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to contact. So I just kind of gave up on it. Once I went to college, I started focusing, completely on my academics. And then I came back from school. I graduated, and then I came back and I got married. And then I went back to school for the business degree. I was about a month away from graduating from that um, that school, and I ended up meeting Randy Carver, who is the owner of Limitless. I met him at after a random like indie show, a small indie
Okay,
show.
we're back on. So we were talking about like you're telling me you always wanted to be a wrestler, and then after you graduate college, what made you obviously take a big step?
Yes. So when I graduated, well, actually, I was about a month from graduating the second time around, getting my business degree. I
Mhm.
went to a really small Maine indie show that my friend Luke Robinson was on. And we went to the bar after, and that's where I met Randy Carver, who is the owner of Limitless
Yeah,
Wrestling.
yeah.
Um, and my sister, my youngest sister, actually had gone to quite a few Limitless shows.
Mhm.
And I had just gone to my first one. I think it was maybe like a few weeks before that, and I just like fell in love with it. It was such an amazing show, and
Mhm.
it kind of like renewed my love for wrestling. And um, so I met Randy a few weeks later, and I found out that he had a school, and I was like, "Hey, you should let me come train at the school." He's like, "Okay, do it," and I was like, "Oh, that was easy."
Uh-huh.
So I told him that I just wanted to graduate from school first, and then I would start training. And so I
Mhm.
graduated on a Saturday, and then the next Sunday I started training, and that was um, 2.5 years ago.
Okay, wow. Um, so again, support from your parents for this endeavor.
Yes, I think
Okay.
initially they were both worried for my safety.
Uh-huh.
It's a wrestling is it's very tough on the body, and it's you have a lot very likely to get injured if something goes
Mhm.
wrong. But as of now, like it took them a while to warm up to it. Obviously
Uh-huh.
they were excited for me and thought it was really
Sure.
cool. But they obviously they love it since they're attending, like they're coming to see me. So yeah, they're very supportive of it.
And at the time, and I hope this doesn't come across as strange. What made you think that you could be a pro wrestler? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what did you see that was like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, like I said, I had wanted to for so long when I was
Yeah.
middle school and high school. And I was, working out at the time, and I was pretty active for the most
Mm.
part. I, was in a position in my life where I could take time to dedicate to something new. And I just, had a feeling. I just had a feeling that it was something that I should try. And I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, it worked. So were you nervous as you were on your way to training for the first time?
Oh my gosh, I was so nervous.
Could
Like,
you sleep the night before?
um, I don't know. I probably yes. It's funny
Uh,
because I actually went to a Limitless event the night before, and I ended up going to the school that night after with everyone just to hang out and like get
oh,
to know
cool.
people. And so I'm really glad that I did that because I think that
Yeah.
kind of eased me into, going to the school the next day to actually train. But yeah, it was. I so my first class was with Alexander Lee,
Mhm.
and it was me, him, and then Mac Daniels. Mac Daniels was the other student there, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I knew who they both were.
Yeah.
Alexander Lee was actually like. I was a big fan of him. So I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to be my trainer and it's going to be scary and like all this stuff. But he was really great about making me feel comfortable and, just letting me know that it's okay to let go. It's okay to let go of the fear of, messing up or looking silly in front of other people. Because a lot of wrestling is, just letting go of everything in life, like just being ready to be a totally different person and do different things with your body that you never even realized you could. And um, it's just kind of, you just have to go for it.
I mean, I think that's really funny. Like, did you ever think you could like pick up a guy and slam him down to the ground? Like when you were a kid growing up, like, it's pretty amazing. Uh, so had you ever been inside a wrestling ring before your day of training?
I never had. So Alexander Lee actually had to teach me how to get into the wrestling ring.
Why?
That
What did you do wrong?
um I mean, I didn't even know like how to step into the ropes. Like I knew I had an idea from
Uh-huh.
watching um
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously because I'd watched it for so long, but um it's getting, am I going to go under the bottom and the middle, or am I going to go under the middle and the top, and which leg should I put, like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
um I mean, obviously it's second nature now, but at the time I was like, can you teach me how to get
Yeah,
in?
that makes sense. Like you don't know like what's the etiquette of doing, this or that.
Yeah, like one of the things that we do as wrestlers before we enter a wrestling ring is we wipe our feet off. That's kind of like, like just a tradition for wrestlers, and it
Yeah.
also cleans off any dirt off your wrestling boots so you're not, getting that in the ring. But I didn't know that. So that's something that I learned that day. And so yeah, it's weird to, of course, my dogs decide right now to play. Um, it's weird to think about, but just little things like that, like you don't realize that you have to learn until you're actually there to learn it.
Was it exciting or was it like more grueling?
Um, it was exciting. Like my first class, I learned how to run the ropes. I learned how to like bump, which is, being able to fall safely.
Mhm.
And I was sore for a few days after that.
Mhm.
Um, but it definitely wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It was definitely hard on my body and it hurts. It
Mhm.
does. Like wrestling hurts, but it's not really terrible. Like it wasn't, I didn't go to my first class and was like, I'm never going again. I went to my first class and I was like, I got to do more of this.
Yeah. So is it nicer, or was it nicer? You didn't have a big class. It was just, the two of you. Was it nicer to almost have one-on-one with a trainer? You know what I mean? With the trainer, as
Yes.
opposed to a larger group. Like,
Yeah,
were you able to learn quicker than like if you were in a group of like 5, 6, 7 other people?
absolutely. And a few classes later, I ended up in a class with like 10 students, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because, like I said, I'm a shy person.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it took a while for me to be able to let go, as I was talking about before. But, so it was scary. It was scary, like throwing my body around and rolling around the ring and stuff in front of a bunch of other people that I barely knew. But
Uh-huh.
now it's like, I just do it. It's not something that, scares me. It's not something that, I'm shy about anymore.
Mm-hmm. When did you start? Like, was it during training, or was it a lot from growing up? Prior to training, your character, the Spitfire.
Um, I hadn't really thought much about my character before I actually started going to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of something that came with time. I knew that I wanted to do something to do with fire
Mm-hmm.
because I do have the red hair, and
Sure.
so I picked. I made my first gear. My first set of gear was red,
Mm-hmm.
um, and
Did you
I don't know.
did you make your own gear?
I don't.
Okay.
I do like some things here and there. Like I made this like cape thing that it's
Mhm.
actually really big and sparkly and nice, and it has like flames coming up from the bottom. So I did make that. So
Oh,
I
cool.
could make gear if I wanted to, but I don't have the patience.
Yeah, yeah, and there's not a ton of time.
Yeah.
Um, so do you remember? Did you tell them you were ready for your first match, or did they tell you you were ready for your first match?
Yeah, so I don't know how it is at other schools, but
Mhm.
at my school, we have to wait for the trainer's approval before we can have our first match and take bookings.
Mhm.
So I had my first match on the Limitless, the road taping against Danger Kid, and I waited 15 months for that.
Oh,
A huge chunk of that was COVID,
mhm.
because that March of 2020,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was getting very close to being ready to have my first match, and then
Mhm.
COVID hit and the school shut down, and it took months for us to start up the tapings. But once that happened, I they did 2 tapings at the school, and then they ended up starting the actual road tapings, and I was on, I think, either season 1 or 2. I don't even remember at this point, but yeah, I waited quite a while for that.
Is it cool to be able to go? Do you have IWTV?
I do, yes.
Is it fun to go and if you have it there? You don't have like to carry like a cassette tape of your matches, like with Limitless at least.
Yeah, I actually, so we, guys,
Oh, it's
guys,
more. Oh, it's more
sorry.
than one dog.
Oh, I have 3.
Oh, I thought it's one dog. I'm like, oh, he must be having a hard time, like right now.
No, they're playing.
What kind of
Sorry.
dogs?
What was that?
What kind of dogs?
I have 2 lab hound mixes, and then I have a pug shih tzu mix.
Is that small?
Yes, she's small. She's the size of a pug.
Oh, okay. And the
Yep.
others, the other two are big, right?
Yes, one of them's very big. The other one's more like medium sized.
Oh, okay. Oh, little medium.
Yes,
You can
worked
make
out well.
little dolls out of them.
Yep.
Okay, so have you watched your first match, like yourself?
Yes, I've actually watched it a lot. I like to
Uh,
watch it to see like how far I've come.
oh,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, so I don't watch my matches a lot.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll go back and watch them, like, just to kind of like feel like the nostalgia. Like, I every match comes with like different feelings and different emotions, and I try to keep a notebook of my matches, and I try to write down like, my notes and what my thoughts and my feelings like right after the match. I don't always do it. I'm very bad about keeping up with it sometimes, but it's even just watching the match back, it's cool to, one, see how far I've come, and two, remember like what I was feeling in that moment, and um, just I've had some really fun matches, and so it's just fun to look back at them.
Yeah, it's kind of like an archive of what's going on in your life at these certain times. Does
Yes.
your does your outside of wrestling life, like the emotions or whatever happens outside the ring, ever come into like the ring, like as far as aggression, not character, but just like yourself?
Um,
Are you able to separate the two?
I'm usually able to separate the two, like as far as aggression goes, pretty
Hmm.
well. Sometimes, outside stuff does affect my training.
Hmm.
Just like personal stuff sometimes, affects my mood. Or sometimes it just makes me miss training altogether. But I'm
Hmm.
usually really good when it comes to like matches, on being like really focused on the match and just forgetting about everything that's going on outside.
Oh, that's great. As of now, compared to when Jessie Nolan was, let's say she was 12 years old, um, is wrestling as fun as you thought it would be when you were that age?
Yes. Well, okay. I'm gonna give you a two-part answer. So yes and no.
Hmm.
Yes, because I love it and I think it's so fun, and it's beyond like anything I could have ever dreamed of. But
Hmm.
no, in that when I was like 12 and dreaming of being a professional wrestler, I was dreaming of being like in the WWE and like having all these glittery outfits and like flying and doing all these shows. And I didn't know that, like, I didn't know how wrestling worked at the time. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know the nitty gritty and like all you have to work your way up the indies and all
Hmm.
that stuff. But you know now that I'm in the position I'm in, I love it. It's very hard. It's a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of patience, and there's a lot of drama and BS that goes along with it. But overall, it is very worth it.
And what was like the most difficult transition, like from, okay, you had this pro wrestling career. How's it, has it affected like work or your personal life, family life?
Um, I think the only thing that it's really affected is like my time, because obviously it takes a good chunk of time to,
Hmm.
go to training and go to shows. I spend like, there's very rarely a weekend where I'm not going to a wrestling show, whether it's in Maine or out of state. And also,
Even if you're not on the card?
yes, so I like to
Okay.
go, obviously I go to Limitless shows.
Sure.
I do the ring crew there.
Hmm.
Um, Anytime my boyfriend has a show, I typically try to go watch him. You were normally on shows together,
Hmm.
but there are rare instances, and so yeah, I mean, it just takes a lot of time out of your life, and um, but I've gotten really good about like setting aside that time for wrestling, and the gym. The gym has been huge for me. Like, when I first started training, I was like working out, but I wasn't working out like a lot, like maybe like
Hmm.
once a week I was going. But then, once I started going to the gym like 4 to 5 times a week, I noticed a huge difference. And so
Wow.
I've realized the importance of putting in the work outside too. So, wrestling isn't just training twice a week and going to shows. It's,
Hmm.
eating clean. It's going to the gym consistently. It's social media. You're always on social media. I've never been on social media this much in my
Yeah.
life until I became a wrestler. So,
Is it
it's
stressful to keep up with that? Like the social media constantly, like posts and everything?
it can be sometimes, just because like sometimes I just don't know like what to post. I'm really bad at Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Instagram I'm better, because luckily I get a lot of photos at shows that I can just post on there, and then
Sure.
I try to take like nice pictures of myself
Yeah,
every
yeah.
while. Um,
It's simple.
Yeah, but it's definitely it can be a lot of work, because you have to consistently, put content out or
Hmm.
people are going to forget about you.
And what about like competing with like your friends for bookings? Is that tough?
Um, I feel like I'm a little bit more fortunate being a female wrestler because they are
Hmm.
very rare in the New England area. I think there's probably less than 15 of us total in all of New
Wow.
England. Yes, I'm the only girl. I'm the only female professional wrestler in Maine. The
Oh,
only
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, I I'm lucky in that, I tend to get more bookings than my classmates tend to
Mhm.
do just because lots of shows are looking for girls and
Yeah.
there's with a lot of indie shows going on sometimes multiple on the same day like
Hmm.
it's they're looking for girls and I just happen to be one of the girls in New England that you know gets on those shows. So I definitely am fortunate in that aspect.
When you were a little girl, did you imagine yourself wrestling other women or men as well?
I definitely, that's a good question. I think that I, figured that I'd be wrestling other women.
Hmm.
Um, but I never minded the idea of wrestling guys. And
Yeah.
now I actually like wrestling guys better.
It's so common now. Like
Yes.
it's fantastic. Whatever happened, it was for the good. Like
Yeah.
you see some amazing matches and new combinations and stuff you don't normally see.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Do you have any plans to head west? I know you don't want to go as far as Utah, but like to wrestle, to get paid to go somewhere out west.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would love to. Like I'd love to travel more for wrestling.
Mhm.
I've been around like the New England area, like New Jersey, Connecticut, like as far as those areas, Rhode
Mhm.
Island. But, I would love to get out there and get farther out into the US because that would just be awesome to see different shows and meet different people and be able to interact with different wrestlers and fans.
But that's the problem with having a day job. You know what I mean? Like it's like you can't just take off when you want.
Yes.
You should become a teacher and you have those months off, in the
Yeah.
summer, and then you just
Yeah.
hit the road. Um, all right. I'm going to let you go shortly. We've learned a lot about you, Jessie, but we're going to definitely, I would love to talk to you more about wrestling going at another episode. But
Oh,
can I ask you 5 non-wrestling related yes or no questions?
yes.
Okay. I didn't run these by my wife, which I normally do. Sometimes I forget. So I hope they're not too odd and hopefully not offensive. I don't think they are.
Okay.
Okay, number 1. Are you able to sneeze without closing your eyes?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever fallen off somewhere and the fall was 5 minutes long?
No.
Okay. For $2.3 million, would you kill your own food going forward for your meals? Meat only.
Yes.
Okay. Can you blow out birthday candles in one try?
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, you've been doing great. Is there anyone that you would consider disgusting? You don't have to name the person.
Yes.
Okay. Honesty. I love it. Five for five. You were fantastic. I couldn't have asked for better. All right. Where are you going to be appearing the rest of this year?
So I have a show this weekend in Maine for North Atlantic Wrestling Association, and then I also have. Actually, I think that might be it. I feel like I
Oh,
might have a show in December, but I got a nice break for the end of the year, which
yeah,
it's
that's
go go
nice.
go all summer, so it's kind of nice to have a little a little break. But there
Is
also is a Limitless show on December 10th that I'll be at. I won't be wrestling on it, but I will be there for ring crew. So
awesome.
yeah.
Is it Is it starting to snow? Getting a snowy season in Maine?
It did snow the other day.
Oh
Luckily, it did
wow!
not stick, but it's coming any day now, unfortunately.
Oh my God, that must be a pain to travel in.
Yeah, it definitely sucks because luckily I work only like 20 minutes away, but my school, the wrestling school is
Mhm.
almost an hour and a half from my house.
Oh, and you
So
go there twice a week?
yes, I try to, and sometimes I go up there and it's not snowing, and then it'll start like blizzard. It'll be a blizzard like during class, so I have to drive all the way home. And
Are you nervous the entire time?
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh my God. You see like cars like skid off the road. They're all, yeah,
yep,
that's worse. Oh my God, I can't imagine. So like 3 hours of that twice a week.
yeah. And then
Oh my God.
when people are going 40 miles per hour on the highway, it takes even longer to get.
Yeah, totally. Well, because people also forget how to drive every year when it
Yep,
snows. Yeah,
yep.
whatever. I always forget that all stores are closed on December 25th. Every year I'm like, oh, Walmart's not open this year? Like something. Jessie, thank you so much for coming on tonight, especially with the internet issue that I like to think we both dealt with a little earlier. But it was fantastic meeting you and talking to you, and I hope we can do it again in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You stay healthy and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.